everyone. Mandy Friedman here, licensed professional clinical counselor, clinically certified domestic violence counselor, clinically certified trauma professional level 2, the creator of SNAP, survivors of narcissistic and abusive personalities, and the owner of Claremont Health. We're back. We're going to talk about Siobhan Roy in the toxic family system of the Logan family. We already did our video that was an introduction. We went through all the themes that we're going to be covering throughout the series. And then we did our episode 2, which was Kendall Roy, just season 1, Kendall Roy. Today, we're talking about Siobhan Roy, season 1. And you've already watched the show, I hope. You should have already watched it by now. And as you may have noticed, we don't see as much of Siobhan in this season. We just start to get to know her a little bit. She's not as much of a player on the scene as we see her in the other seasons. So today's episode won't be as long. You're welcome. So Andrew, you're back. Hi.
That's right. I'm back to talk more about Succession. And today I'm interested to talk to you about Siobhan. And, you know, the little sample size that we get about her, but we talked about it a little bit, and both of us identify with her quite a bit in some respects.
It's true. And we find out at the beginning that she has a nickname, which is Pinky. And I wonder why that is her nickname. What do you have any theories as to why her nickname would be Pinky?
Well, Siobhan is a redhead. And that's, you know, another thing you can identify with her about. But I feel like that this nickname is, you know, from Logan Roy, her father. And I feel like that it is a little demeaning. You know, it's kind of childish a little bit. And the fact that he's continuing to call her that as an adult in situations where maybe it's not appropriate. You know what I mean? It seems like it's the kind of thing that he uses to diminish her in the eyes of others and to control her emotionally, because not only could that possibly make her look silly, but it also probably cuts her pretty deep to hear that. And we know how attached to her father she is because we've seen the rest of the show.
Yes, indeed. So Pinky, that acts as a way of shrinking her down, making her less significant, also feminizing her, you know. And then 2, you know, the Pinky is the littlest one, right? So I don't know. It doesn't sound, well, at least it's not killer. You know, at least he's not saying, hey, killer, like he does with Kendall. But yeah, so we know that her nickname is Pinky. And what else do we know about her starting right off the bat?
So what we learn is that she is in politics. She trains politicians who are liars how to lie. And that's kind of what her job is. And we have a little bit of, you know, drama going on there with a person she's had a former relationship with named Nate, who is trying to recruit her to work for his political opponent, or his political person he works for, named Gil. And so we learn that that's what is going on with her when we first meet her.
Well, it just came to mind right now when we're talking about the themes. The theme of objectification, because one thing we know is that Siobhan, being a woman, is used against her and also used in a weaponizing type of way. That when tides are turning and they need more female support, you know, later on down the road, we find out all these horrible things about Waystar Royco. And their cruise line offenses, right? And so when it suits them, they will put Pinky in the forefront. Like, look, we love women. So it's objectification, it's tokenism. But then when it doesn't suit them, her being a female is a problem. And they make fun of it. And, you know, it's a form of, like, I don't know, there's like slurs and things that are used by her brother, Roman, and her go back and forth quite a bit on that. But yeah, so she works as a PR person and a campaign manager for Gil. She's more progressive. Her family is more, well, can't really call them conservative. But let's just say that they objectify a population, or half the population, that is more conservative. They objectify those people, and then they use them to make money, as we learn along the way.
That's interesting that you bring up the point that they objectify people, the viewers of their programs. And, it's interesting because I don't think that the family cares at all who might win a political thing. In fact, that goes on later on in the show, and it really has nothing to do with anyone's beliefs or what they want to happen. It's all about winning or being right.
And who is going to allow them to continue with their malevolence and, all the things that they want to do? They want to have people in power in place that are going to allow them to play out their schemes and to not hold them accountable for their crimes, right? Yeah. Okay. So we also know that Pinky, Shiv, is married to Tom Wambsgans. It's an important name to remember. So they are engaged, or actually they're not engaged when we meet them, right?
Correct. Yeah,
because
that
they're,
happens in the show.
yes, right.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not engaged, they're dating. And when Logan has his stroke and they're trying to figure out what they're doing, at some point, Tom drops to one knee as if he's going to propose. And he says he's trying to lift the mood. He thought, well, this is a really bad time, so why not make it a good time? And she's like, no, get up. No, absolutely not. And then, looking at him like he's crazy. And then she feels bad. And this is a pattern we see in her marriage and her relationship with Tom, is that he tends to have a more tender heart, and seems like that there's a part of him that genuinely loves her. Now, that might just be skin deep, however, for their capabilities, that's as much as he can love a person. And even though there's also transactions involved and it has to do with climbing the ladder, he seems to genuinely care about her. So he tries to do things to be the subservient helper, the supporter, and he's just there to help, just there to support. Now, in the meantime, we got Nate. So Nate is an ex-lover of Shiv. I guess they used to work on campaigns together. Did you pick up on that? How do is that where they met?
Yeah, that's what it seems to be, is that they've worked together. And that's a reason why it's such a sure thing what's going to happen between those two, because it happened in the same way in the past.
So Nate is trying to recruit her to work on Gil's campaign. And Nate is a more progressive type. And he is somebody that genuinely believes that if Gil wins, that could really change things for the better. And he sees Siobhan as somebody that could really help them get there. But also he kind of wants to have sex with her too. So it serves him in multiple ways. And I just wrote down a couple things about this because I thought it was interesting. So while Nate was trying to convince her to, come on board, and then, also that he keeps saying, I'm going to have sex with you. I'm definitely going to have sex with you. She says, she comments to Nate about their past relationship. And she said, I tried playing with you, but you broke. So we see how she treats Tom, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, she takes him to the brink. She announces on their wedding day that she's polyamorous. Never been brought up before, but it's because she does wind up having sex with Nate. But, she kind of hurts Tom quite a bit. And so when she says, but you broke, I'm assuming it means that Nate couldn't take it. Remember, in their family, cruelty is a love language. And when you say you're hurting me, you're a wimp and a loser. So if she was mistreating Nate and Nate finally said, yo, bitch, cut it out, then she's done at that point. He's not allowed to stick up for himself, right? It's like, oh, you weak little pathetic thing. You can't handle my mistreatment, because Tom can take it. Tom's the pain sponge, right? So I just thought that was really interesting how she made that comment about how that Nate broke, but Tom doesn't break.
Yeah, he bends, but he doesn't break. And it's interesting that in this family, if you do complain, not only are you a wimp, but you're not accepting the love. I'm showing you love by beating the shit out of your emotions. You don't like that? This is how, what do you mean? You know what I mean? That's kind of an interesting thing that happens and causes frustration on both ends. Shiv, of all the characters in the show, is probably one of the easier ones to root for because she doesn't do anything too terrible, like on a grand scale, but she does awful things to individuals.
And the way that she interacts with Tom, you wind up kind of feeling bad for Tom too at a certain point. Not later on, you're like, oh, I get you now. But at first you're like, damn, dude, like, come on. Like, she's really like not very nice at all. Now, like, you picked up on something as the non-therapist in the room. You picked up on her attachment style, which I thought was really awesome. And I just wanted to highlight that because you're absolutely right. What is Shiv's attachment style?
So she's avoidant attachment style. And the reason I know that is because so am I. And so sometimes the way she reacts to things are kind of the way I would react to them in a lot of ways. Meaning, here's an example. Okay, so Tom, she wants Tom. Everyone in the family eventually accepts Tom to some extent, but he has to jump through so many hoops and they all clearly think he's not good enough. But here's the thing is that he is low risk. All right. He's going to do what he's told. He's going to take it and he's not going to give anything back and he's not going to make waves. So, to me, that's a low risk, avoidant type thing. That's a thing an avoidant person might do. She's also in situations where she's afraid she's going to get hurt. She will strike first, or just completely remove herself from the situation and act like the situation doesn't exist. And that is also something I do. So, I kind of really identified with her in the way that she handles stress and pain.
There's so many times that we see her kind of put herself back together. Like you see her face, like with connecting with some horrific statement that was made or just disbelief over behaviors, even though she's right alongside of them and she's just as, she's pretty toxic, horrible person. But at the same time, there's part of her that's like softer. She probably has more emotional intelligence than some of the other people around her. Still not great with that by any means, but in the circle she's in, she's got probably one of the higher EQs. Tom's got the highest in my opinion, but we'll get to him. So her attachment style is avoidant. She has learned that when she tries to be vulnerable, when she tries to be close, when she lets her tender parts be, be exposed, that's a bad thing, that you get hurt and that's a weak position to be in. So we don't cry, we suck it up and we act like it doesn't hurt our feelings, but actually inside she's being completely crushed. And then when somebody tries to pursue her, like Tom, he makes these overtures, he makes these gestures with her and he's trying to be romantic at times and she blows it. I mean, she's not good at that at all. She actually winds up saying really hurtful things in those moments and not realizing, speaking of the emotional intelligence, he's the one with the higher emotional intelligence. And you can see that in those moments where she did not come anywhere near what he was thinking was going to happen. She takes it way over the mark in terms of saying mean things that he would never say to her, she'll say to him. But that's just how her family talks. And so it's just normal and you just put up with it. Got the avoidant attachment style. And then you also had mentioned one of her favorite nonverbals is...
Yeah, she crosses her arms and it's mostly in two situations. In a situation where she feels like she needs to defend herself, she's feeling something, and she will do this. And it's kind of, the actress is fantastic. Sarah Snook, the way she's able to convey two different styles of arm cross throughout the show. It's this one where she's kind of like, starting to think things over and she wants to defend herself. But she also, crosses her arms when she is attacking. And so she will, it's a defensive position to take before attack. You know what I mean? And so it's wild how deep that is and how tremendous of an acting job. I mean, I'm just blown away by how great it is.
Me too. Absolutely. I mean, that's when I'm watching it, I'm like, oh my God, these are great examples. We have to do this. And so here we are. Oh, the wedding. So her mother's name is Lady Caroline Collingwood. And when we meet mom, it explains a lot, doesn't it? And there's even a scene where mom and daughter are sitting and talking for a minute. And they're just shooting jabs at each other, you know, and the mom is like, can we just be nice? You know, like, okay. So in other words, don't talk about anything real, right? Don't talk about anything real. We're going to do an episode that's all about Shiv's wedding. So we won't spend a lot of time on it, but it is important to just note that this is when the wedding happens, is in season 1. It's when we meet mom. It's when we see the dynamic going on between mom and her new husband, and him being kind of like a boy toy for her, and how he really wants Logan to be there at the wedding. So then Kendall has to be pushed aside, and so the dynamics of the wedding, Tom, you know, and how he's managing this. I'm pretty sure that he tells Nate to go fuck himself. Does Nate show up to the wedding?
So Nate is invited to the wedding because that covers their tracks, right? She's working with him, so of course she would invite a coworker. She wouldn't invite a lover, okay? But you know, during the wedding, Tom finds out about this, and you know, this is when she is revealing to him that she, you know, wants to have an open-ended marriage as far as, you know, sexual partners, and he didn't know that. And this is when he learns who she's really talking about, is that it's Nate. So he says, this is okay with me as long as you let me kick him out. And he gets to go over there, and this is one of the only times, except when he's bullying Greg, that Tom gets to actually he gets to win the scene. You know what I mean? And so he gets to come out on top when it comes to an interaction with another character. That rarely happens in the show unless it's with Greg. And even then, sometimes Greg wins.
I hate to skip ahead, but I feel like I need to because I love the show so much. But who was the person that told him?
I don't remember.
Greg.
Oh, Greg is the one that told him.
Yes.
Okay.
You know how Greg, and we're going to get to Greg, but Greg makes these moves along the way. And this is one of the moves that Greg makes. Is he sees something between Shiv and Nate, and then he kind of reports it to Tom, and then Tom has this reaction that's really interesting. So we'll get to that when we talk about Tom and Greg. One of the things she says to Nate when they're talking about, you know, are they going to have sex or not, and is it a good idea or not, she says, we should be good people. And I love that because basically she's saying we're not good people, but we should try to be. And what do good people do? They don't cheat on their spouses.
That's so frustrating too, because on the outside, she's claiming to him, I know what the right thing is, and we're going to make the right decision here. But she's also teasing him. All right. And, you know, without him knowing it, she's teasing Tom at the same time. So it's like, you know, she's pulling strings on these people. And this happens throughout the show, you know, that she really has this kind of like master, relationship with some of the men in her life. And it's because that's how she was controlled as a child, you know, not through romantic situations, but, you know, her relationship with her father, she has always been, you know, as we said at the very beginning, he calls her a nickname to tie, you know, one more string to her so that he can pull it. And that's kind of how this family operates. So that's how she operates when she's dealing with relationships in her life.
It's true. It's absolutely true. And then at the end of the season, where we end is the wedding has happened. Kendall has had his accident, and then he is going to go away to like not rehab, but he's somewhere far away where he's supposed to be getting himself together. Doesn't get much time there though, does he?
No, I mean, well, the second season starts with him getting pulled out of it, right?
Exactly.
And it's like he's like, well, I've only been here 2 days, you know, and they're like, well, we need you on TV so we can use you, you know what I mean?
He thinks that he's going away to convalesce.
Going away to go away is what's going on. So.
Yeah, we're getting you out, but then sucking you right back in. Now you owe us. All right, Siobhan Roy, season 1. I think we covered it. Not a lot going on with her, but as the seasons go on, we'll see her more and more. We'll have much more lengthy and detailed episodes with clips and everything. So, but for now, we'll sign off. The next episode is Roman Roy, season 1. Oh my God, I cannot wait. Roman Roy. He's one of them. He's one of the characters that just bowled me over right in the beginning. Like, wow. Wow, wow, wow.
Maybe we could close the book on Shiv Roy for now and open it back up at some time soon. But I really appreciate you letting me join you to talk about this.
And I am so glad that you are joining me. This is really super fun. We got loads more to talk about. All right. Thanks for watching or listening. Bye-bye.